all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
When you walk out on that field today, ask yourself this question. What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Game time! What time is it? Let's go! We made it! We made it! We made it! We made it! Let's go to the house! Let's go to the house! When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like. Football is getting hit. That's it. It's gonna be football now. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's hunt now. Let's hunt now. Let's go. Let's hunt. We made it. Let's go to the house. Let's go to the house. We're talking about the Jets like we're talking about the Saints. You know, all this, how we the Miami Heat of football. Yeah. The bottom line is you got to buckle up with chin straps. It's embarrassing. Yeah. Don't disrespect the game like that. Too much crying from him. He's a man. They can be hit just like us. He's a man. You already make the big money. He's a man. Don't cry when you step on the field, man. That's who I did. When I step on the field, I send one message. This is what it feels like. Oh, my bad. Your bad don't work in my world. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Game time. What time is it? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. We made it. Let's go to the house. Let's go to the house. It's a wrap. Game over.
Now, this game is just getting started right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It is our Team Texas Tuesday, but you know I gotta be all out the state today. I gotta spend a little bit of time over in Alabama, where the Crimson Tide proved that they were the best college football team in the country this season. And I know there are folks that want to talk about if they were the greatest of all time. Is there somebody that just sits and waits? I mean, it just waits for stuff to end so they can say, oh, that was the greatest of all time. I wonder if that was the greatest of all time. How does that rank in the greatest of all time performances? Like every now and then, maybe the event should just be enjoyed, like without it having to muster up and be measured up to the greatest of all time. I mean, if Alabama, and I understand the young quarterback made the statement, we're the greatest of all time. Okay, he played a heck of a game. And his last name is Jones, so he's definitely a cousin somewhere down the line. But, I mean, great game, Alabama. Great game. Oh, yeah, by the way, Ryan Day, did you hire the Texans defensive coordinator did Anthony Weaver come in and run the defense for you last night? Because, bruh, you left the Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver open a lot. You had a defense where he was covered by the middle linebacker. Huh? Hello, you're live on the lunch break. Who's this?
AJ, it's
Todd. I'm glad to get you in early, Todd. I don't have any special guests. I thought about you yesterday. I said, let me clear my board so I can get Todd and Big Mike and some of the other fellas in and young ladies in so that we can really talk about this thing. But I got to take a break real quick, Todd. Can you stay there for a moment?
Yeah, I'll be here.
All right, so we'll talk to Todd. But I'm serious. Ryan Day, did you slide some Anthony Weaver defensive sets in there last night? Because, bruh, Your defense looked like trash. And I'm sorry, I probably shouldn't say that because they were up against, arguably one of the best teams to ever play the game. Let me just go ahead and bequeath this right now to Alabama. Alabama's team last night was the best there ever was, ever will be. Nobody shall ever be as greater. Let me go, Vashawn Mitchell. Searched all over, couldn't find nobody. I searched high and low, still couldn't find nobody. Nobody greater. Nobody greater. Nobody greater than Bama. All right, take my break now. No, I will not be signing any autographs after that singing. We'll be right back right after this. Brought to you by the Tax Doctor and Lily.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they are able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359. Here's an important COVID-19 school system update for your local area. If you're concerned about your child's education, please pay close attention to this message. The current school systems were not set up for at-home learning. If you're worried that your child may not be getting the grades they need to get ahead, may be losing self-confidence, or you're worried about them getting into a good college because of their grades, help is available to you. Call Grade Potential Tutoring. They can help with in-home or online tutoring and help your child with any subject at every grade level, even for test prep. They're experts in the home tutoring and online tutoring field and confident they can help you and your child get better grades today. Call now for your free consultation. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. That's 800-580-7680. I am a non-attorney spokesperson representing a team of lawyers who've helped people that have been injured or wronged. Have you been diagnosed with cancer? Are you one of the millions who have taken Zantac or other generic versions of this popular drug to help treat stomach issues? Then pay close attention to this message. The FDA said it detected low levels of a probable cancer-causing chemical known as NDMA in Zantac and other generic forms of this popular drug. They've banned sales and even removed it from the market. If you've been diagnosed with cancer and you've taken Zantac or a generic equivalent, call the legal helpline now. You could receive a free cash award and have your medical expenses covered. And there's no upfront cost to you. They only get paid if you win. So please call now. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. 800-251-7816. That's 800-251-7816.
The legendary KYOK
All right.
1140 AM and 92.3.
Let's get it.
The legend continues.
Todd, are you bobbing with the music, bro? Are you bobbing? You got your head bobbing, Todd?
Always.
Todd, can you dance? I don't think you can dance, can you, Todd?
No, I can't dance.
Okay, if you had said something otherwise, I was gonna say put Amber on the phone. I was gonna call you out, bro. I was gonna tell you put Amber on the phone.
Now, I can country western dance.
No. There are not genres in dancing, Todd. Todd, no. There's not genres in dancing. I know there's different types of dancing, but you can't only dance to a certain kind of music. You can be a ballet dancer, a tap dancer, that. But no. It ain't. I can only dance country and western music. No.
But that can't be shimmy though. I might have to come off Facebook Live with you and show the audience.
What's crazy is if you mess around and get that Kappa shimmy down, it will help you with your dancing. I promise you. If you work on that and get that thing down, you will find that beat and you all will become friends.
Oh man, that's hilarious. So yeah, no, I had a couple topics for you.
All right, let's hear them.
College football, they got a problem on their hands.
I don't think they care.
But they got a popularity problem in the sense that it's like watching a movie you've seen over and over and over again. It's not one of the classics, right?
Right.
Like every time I see Goodfellas on TV, I'll watch it.
Yep.
Like Shawshank, I'll watch it. I already know the ending, but it's so great, I'll watch it.
Yep.
College football is losing that luster in the playoffs for me.
Yep.
Because, and I have a solution to the problem. If you keep having the same four teams over and over and over and over again, it's like serving someone meatloaf 7 days a week, year round. You may love meatloaf, but I don't love it every day, year round with no break.
Every Monday in New Orleans, somebody's cooking red beans and rice, and when I was down there, I didn't like it. And as soon as I got away from it, I was begging for it. And that's part of the problem, Todd. You got enough of the non-mainstream people that will pay millions of dollars to see Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, Ohio State. And oh yeah, by the way, the people that control that is not the NCAA, is not the a group of five, it's the Power Five. And inside the Power Five, it's the SEC, it's the ACC, and it's the Big 12.
Yep.
And they're making enough money on their own, they're controlling what they want on their own, that they don't need anybody else. And it's not going to be until somebody else breaks and goes rogue. I heard somebody today say that because of the way the commissioner of the Big 10 and the commissioner of the Big 12 handled themselves this year, they are out of the power. They are out of the power in the Power Five. That to me is ridiculous. Yeah. It should not be based on, them being cautious and the other groups saying, oh yeah, we don't care, let's just go. But in reality, that's the way it is. There is power inside of the power. And until that power is broken, and nobody breaks power, until that power is broken, they're going to keep doing this right here.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, AJ, I watched little bits and pieces of it, but the last few years I've really watched the college playoffs because it's become so boring to me. I'm tired of seeing the same old teams. So here's my solution. Scrap non-conference schedules.
Yep.
Okay? Get rid of the non-conference. We already saw kind of a taste of it this year with COVID, right?
Yep.
Everybody just, when you go to fall camp, you're gearing up for your conference schedule. Okay? And the race should be, and the reason I'm saying get rid of your non-conference is because to keep the bodies fresh for the playoffs. Okay? The race should be whoever ends up the year in the top 24, 25, that's your playoff bracket. Okay? And you play it off from there. And the reason I think that's more appealing is just like in college basketball, one game elimination, right? The current setup, it penalizes teams early on in the year that may have lost a couple games, but then they're red hot at the end, right?
Mm-hmm.
That could have maybe beaten Ohio State, but they don't get the opportunity because they maybe had a new quarterback they were breaking in and lost a couple games early. So my scenario would be scrap the non-conference, and I'm saying that is to get rid of those 3 games because you might have an additional 3 games in the back end of the playoff to keep your body fresh for, okay? And I think that is a better selling point for recruiting because Urban Meyer, I thought, made a good point a couple weeks ago. He goes, if you keep having the same 4 teams in the playoffs, they're going to have a stranglehold on recruiting, right? Because they're the only 4 that keeps being able to tell recruits we're in the playoffs, right? If you have a top 24, 25 at the end of the year, whatever that top 25 ranking ends, then you got 25 teams that can go to recruits and say, hey, we made the playoffs. We upset so-and-so, right? So that would be my solution is whoever at the end of the year makes that, top 25 at the end of the regular season, you play it off from there. And you create your bracket from that.
All right, Todd, hold that thought. I gotta take a quick break, and then I'm coming back, and I wanna dive into that because I think you might be on to something. We'll be right back with Todd right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all new 92.3 FM. It's the lunch break, Team Texas Tuesday on the legendary KYOK.
KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. Radio stations in one.
I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM at KYOKradio.org.
Hi, I'm Linda J. I recently purchased 4 new tires from OMG Tires and More, located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen. TK got me in and out in less than 30 minutes. While there, I got my car washed. Do you need rims for your car? OMG has them too. OMG Tires and More is your one-stop shop for all your tire needs. So give them a call at 832-767-3211. That's 832-767-3211. Conveniently located at 3124 Tidwell between 59 and Jensen on the north side.
The lunch break, where sports are the special of the day on the legendary KYOK.
All right, we are back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. It is our Team Texas Tuesday. We're out of the state right now, talking about Alabama and college football. They beat up on poor little Ohio State. Final score in that thing was what? What was the final score in that? 52-24. I don't feel sorry for Ryan Day and the Ohio State Buckeyes while my heart bleeds scarlet and gray. I gotta tell you, man, if that was the defensive game plan, yeah, you're supposed to catch that whooping. You're supposed to catch that whooping when that's your defensive game plan. But let me come back to you, Todd. I like the non-conference schedule. I got to kind of tweak to that, but I like taking that out of the equation. But what I would also add to it is making sure that the best 2 teams in the respective conferences play in the conference championship game so that you don't have a situation where you have one conference that has more than one team in it. And that way, like, you don't have 2 teams on the same side. Let's say Alabama and A&M have the best record in the SEC, but they can't meet in the conference championship because Alabama's got to play Georgia. Alabama crushes Georgia. A&M had a better record, so they slide A&M and Alabama into the conference, the CFP. I want the 2 best teams to play in the conference championship, and then you bring out the best of the champions in each one of the divisions, and then you add in the Power 5. The group of 5. You add in the champions of, whichever divisions that you want to work with out of that division. You got to let them in. You cannot leave them out, and then you kind of do some seeding from there. But I like the way you're thinking.
Yeah, no, like I'm looking at the final, let's see here, the top 25 here. So let me pick out some teams that I thought would be intriguing to get in it. Let's take A&M, right?
Yep.
Even though they only beat one ranked team, they were still a good team, right?
Yep.
It would have been fun to see what they could have done,
Right.
Let's take another team. Oklahoma got hot late in the year, right? They were breaking in a new quarterback, which was what I was saying earlier. Lost a couple games early. Rattler finally hits his stride, but they're penalized. Not necessarily penalized, but that's just part of the growing pains. Cincinnati, 9-1. That'd be fun to see a team like Cincinnati in the playoffs. Iowa State's a tough out. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I think having that newness, that spontaneity of it, of like, wow, did you guys just see Cincinnati? They just beat Alabama. That's the excitement of March Madness, right?
Right.
We don't have that.
Yep.
There is no real element of surprise. It's we know Alabama's probably going to be in the championship.
Yep.
Clemson's got a great quarterback, or somebody else that can, knock them off. To me, that's what. Let me give you another. Coastal Carolina.
Yep.
That's another good team. Louisiana.
Yep.
Raging Cajuns. To me, that would make it so much more fun. Right now, it's like when college football starts, it's like, okay, well, we know it's going to be Clemson, Alabama, Ohio State. Who's going to be that maybe surprise fourth?
Yeah, and you got a lot of people in college football that don't want to see number 1 versus 16 because they feel like it's different than college basketball. Very few 16 seeds have knocked off the number 1 seed, but there have been some exceptions, right? 2s and 3s and that have been knocked off. But what I did, Todd, similar to what you're talking about, is I broke it up into 4 regions. I took 1 through 16. I got number 1 Alabama versus 16 North Carolina, and then number 12 BYU against number 8 Cincinnati in one region, and then number 2 Ohio State versus number 15 Louisiana, and number 11 Indiana versus number 7 Georgia in another region. Then number 3 Clemson versus number 14 Coastal Carolina, and then you got number 10 Iowa State versus number 6 Oklahoma in the same region. And then the final region would have been Notre Dame versus 13 Florida, and number 9 Northwestern versus number 5 A&M. Yeah, those first round games are probably going to be blowouts, with maybe a few exceptions. Because I'll tell you, one team that I don't want to see, I don't care who I am, is a Mack Brown coach team. Mack Brown in North Carolina has given Clemson the blues, and very well may have given Alabama the blues. One game, he's got to coach for one game to get his team ready for that team. And I tell you what, that would have been an interesting matchup. But coming out of that, you might get your Alabama versus Cincinnati, or your Ohio State versus Georgia, or Clemson versus Oklahoma, and Notre Dame versus A&M. Now it gets more interesting without it being exclusive to just the Blue Bloods.
So let's talk about the upsets, right? So in non-conference play, we do see upsets every year, right?
Absolutely.
Let me give an example. In Big 12 play this year, Louisiana went up to Iowa State and thumped Iowa State. No one saw that coming, right?
Yep.
What was the team in the small team? It was the Houston Baptist went out to Texas Tech and almost beat them.
Yep.
Okay, so every year in non-conference play, we see upsets, right? So-and-so lost to, I remember with Appalachian State one time went to Michigan and beat them, right?
Right.
Well, Troy one time went to LSU and beat them, right? So I think that's where you're going to add more fun and excitement back for the fan. But going back to the recruiting part, those schools can now go to recruits and say, hey, we are in the playoffs, right?
Yeah.
Made it a couple rounds,
Yep.
And that's why I thought Urban was hitting on a point, is that these top 4 teams have a stranglehold on their recruiting,
right?
Because they're the only 4. And he goes, as long as you keep leaving it like that, all these kids see that are in high school, these are the only ones that can make the playoffs. So I think expanding it, I don't think it would be popular to the players if you're talking about expanding the playoff and adding more games if they're not getting paid. So that was my premise on getting rid of the non-conference schedule, is saving their bodies. And basically you're racing to the finish line at the end of the season on that top 25. And then you'll probably have some more players that some may choose to opt in and not opt out, know?
Yeah. And I don't want to, I'm not definitely coming at you, but the whole saving our bodies and that, then the kids in 1AA and Division II and Division III are tougher than the kids in 1 single A. I mean, in FBS, the kids in FCS and Division II and Division III are tougher because they do it. They do it every year.
They've been doing it.
Yeah, they play a 12-game schedule, and then they play a 16-seeded team playoff. And guess what? Every one of them lived through it.
So even that would work. Let's say you did top 16, right?
Yep.
That means you would have teams like Iowa, Louisiana, Coastal Carolina,
Yep.
Florida, Indiana, BYU.
Yep.
So you'd have some fresh names in that.
Right. And again, Todd, contrary to what the experts think, like this committee is worse than the computers from the BCS. The humans are worse than the computers from the BCS. All coaches want is a chance to play. That's all they want. If they get beat, guess what? That's different. But they just want a chance to play. Remember when Boise State knocked off Oklahoma?
Yeah.
All that coach wanted was a chance to play. And he pulled out all the stuff, Statue of Liberty, fake this, fake that. I mean, that's his Super Bowl. And guess what? They won it, and it would have been nice for them to have a chance to then compete for a national champion. They did what nobody else said that they can do. But everybody gives it this whole, the other team was sad because they weren't in the national championship, so they didn't take the bowl game serious. Then we need to quit playing the bowl games. Make the games have meaning.
Yeah, no, so, and I agree with that. These other bowl games, people just don't care like they used to. The diehard fan will watch every bowl game. But let's say you did the top 16, just make the bowl games after that,
And Todd, watch this. And you can use some of the bowl games to still play these kind of playoff games. And now they even have more meaning than they had before. And you can still do your ancillary or miscellaneous bowls and still do what you've been doing. There's just no excuse for it. It's nothing more than the people who have the power and the money don't want to share it. They're making enough in their own minds that there is no reason to change it.
Yeah.
And there's no governing body that will make them change it. Like they're in a no-lose situation.
You take another team like BYU, I'm looking at 11-1. They're just never going to get in it.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Nope.
And that's got to be, unbelievably deflating for some of these teams that, the Coastal Carolinas, Cincinnati's, they're not even going to get a shot.
And Todd, that's why last season you saw me melding the different divisions into one and giving the top 25 ranking where, North Dakota State got love. I mean, they were undefeated. You had Montana, with a great record. You had FAMU and Southern that had great records. I mean, that's the only way those schools will get any kind of recognition on a national level with those other schools is if somebody just decides I'm not going to do it the way that everybody else is doing it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I've watched little bits and pieces of it last night, but I just feel like I've already seen this before, So we'll see.
And Todd, I was right there with you. To be honest with you, I tuned out after it started getting out of hand. I think I barely peeked back in on it during halftime because again, same old. Wasn't that Alabama was beating up on my team? I might have been that way if Ohio State was running away with it. At the end of the day, we want to see competitive football on all levels, and we're not getting that. And the point is, we're probably not going to get that as long as they are making the kind of money that they're making. But let's slide over into something else real quick. Devontae Smith, good God.
Yeah, he's special, man.
Bruh, I mean, like, I all joking aside, I would have put 3 men on him and took my chance with 8 men on everybody else.
I mean, I think if Jalen Waddle was even more healthy, right, was a limp death score, it would have been way more out of hand. If Jalen Waddle was not limited like he was.
Yeah, true.
I mean, Jalen Waddle is a monster, and I don't think people, if they don't follow real close, they don't realize how explosive that dude is.
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, imagine Alabama having in the NFL having the number 1 quarterback, the number 1 running back, and the number 1 and 1B wide receivers.
Yeah, until that starts until you start getting more parity in recruiting, and maybe like a guy like Deion Sanders can help kind of change the landscape of that a little bit, right?
I think he's already doing it, and I really do. I really think that Deion Sanders, this is going to sound crazy, Deion Sanders is about to build the Alabama of the HBCUs.
Well, I know right now, I don't know if I shared this with you or somebody else, but he already has like 12 transfers from the transfer portal.
I know.
From kids from major D1s already on top of the recruiting class. I know it's going to take a little bit to build, but I already know in that conference he's going to have the most talented team just athletically, right?
And watch this. If the NCAA will leave him alone, because the nonsense that they are knocking him about already, if they would leave him alone, I agree with where you're going. I think that this young man, Deion Sanders, is about to build something like Grambling of old, something like the Alabama of the HBCUs. He's about to build something special.
That'll be that could be the biggest threat to like the Alabama to Clemson if that thing takes fire like that, and then you have more coaches, black coaches like Deion, go to some of these other HBCU schools, and then it starts. Then the recruiting is not as lopsided as it is right now.
Yep.
You know.
Yep.
That's like but see, that's tying back in my point of the expanding the playoff is we need more parity in the recruiting a little bit.
Right.
And if you get that, that's when the excitement of well, hey, we really don't know. That's why the NFL is fun because the Patriots are an anomaly. Usually with the salary cap era, normally teams can't win for that extended period of time because all your good players get picked off, right?
Right.
In free agency, I don't know if we'll ever see an NFL team be that great over that period of time with the salary cap. But I would love to see more coaches not just go to these Power 5 schools, right? And not use the Group 5. And I don't know if coaches in the HBCU are using the HBCU schools as a stepping stone.
I don't think they are. When I look at the coach at North Carolina A&T, he's been there, and he's got 4. I sure hope I'm not disrespecting him. He's got 4 black college national championships, recent ones, and he ain't interviewing for PWI jobs or NFL jobs. He's not. He understands his relationship with those kids. And I said the same thing about David Shaw, leaving Stanford. That's a job where he is not under the same pressure that Tom Herman was under, or Tyrone Willingham, or Charlie Strong was under at these other schools. And I really don't want to see us lose those rare opportunities that we get like that. I'm not saying I don't want us to advance, and that, please don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is when we get those rare opportunities, I'd love to see us maximize that because he's got an impact on kids that is beyond X's and O's and wins and losses. And we haven't seen a lot of that since, the Eddie Robinsons and some of the great coaches in the HBCU ranks.
Well, here's what's going to be interesting about Deion. Let's say he gets that thing just rolling, right? And let's say Florida State ends up firing the coach they have now that came from Memphis, right?
Yeah.
And let's say Florida State calls. Let's say 3 years from now, right?
Yep.
Deion's got that thing cooking down there.
Yep.
Couple defeated seasons. They fired their Florida State coach. They called Deion and said, hey, you want to be the coach here? I'd be curious what that answer would be at that time because I know he loves Florida State.
Right. I would say this. I wouldn't be mad at him for taking it. I really wouldn't. I really wouldn't because of the connection, the legacy that he has there. And again, I think Deion Sanders can be a good coach on any level. So I would love to see him, have his dreams come true. I'll never, slight a person's dreams. What I wouldn't be mad, though, this is kind of out of the box, and it's not a step down. And that's why I kind of had to run through it in my mind before I said it. I wouldn't mind to see, gosh, I drew a blank on his name, was up at Illinois and was with the Bears. And
Lovie Smith?
Lovie Smith. I wouldn't mind seeing Lovie Smith and Kevin Sumlin and, and some of these other coaches who have NFL experience.
Yep.
Go to the HBCUs and give those kids that connection, that pipeline. Eddie Robinson had a pipeline because of the people that came out of his school into the NFL and their success and the character that Eddie Robinson established at Grambling. So imagine if Lovie Smith and Charlie Strong and some of these other coaches could go to HBCU schools and instill those characters, put that NFL type of offense, and let me prepare you for what it's like on the next level, and we'll do that down here. If it's fair and if it's equal, then they should have that same kind of pipeline from all of those schools, as opposed to just the ones that the Deion Sanders and some of the other coaches are at.
So those names you brought up are actually good names to bring up, because those coaches you've named have made a lot of money already, right? At other schools that maybe could come to an HBCU school. Let me ask you this. What is the salary difference? Like, what is the coach making, head coach at like a Texas Southern making versus, Holgerson at University of Houston? He's making like $4 million a year, right?
Yeah.
What is kind of the average salary of the HBCU head coach in that conference Deion's in? Do you know?
Let me take a break, and I'll see if I can't pull that up. I know Holgerson's about $4 million a year. Let me pull up TSU's head coach's salary. I'll come back right after this on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK. If you want to get in, 281-453-1000. That's 281-453-1000. It's the lunch break.
You're listening to
1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legendary KYOK.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359.
Hello, my name is Margaret, and I'm not a paid actor. I'm simply a very satisfied customer that has received good advice from the care team insurance. Without the help from the care team, we would not have had health insurance. The care team has saved my daughter's life.
This is one of the many great results of Care Team's efforts. Don't get caught with bad or no insurance at all. Let Care Team assist you with our free enrollment assistance program. Call now, 281-990-1377. There are over 13 million people without medical insurance that should qualify for plans starting at $0 to $50 per month. Care Team has helped thousands of people just like you. This is AJ Jones, and KYOK listeners, I want you to call now and see what you qualify for at 281-990-1377. That's 281-990-1377, or visit careteamcares.com.
Lunch break.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It is our Team Texas Tuesday. And Todd, I kind of wish I hadn't checked that. I kind of wish that I hadn't checked that. I mean, it's not chump change. I mean, please. I don't want to be disrespectful to somebody out there making, what they're making. Like I said, Dana Holgerson is about $4 million.
Yep.
Average salary in HBCUs is about $136,000.
All right, so let's go back to your examples, right? Let's take Charlie Strong of why he could be a guy that could do this, okay? Charlie Strong made $25 million over in 3 years at Texas, right?
Yep.
He made money. He was making over $1 million a year at Louisville prior to that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He also got paid at South Florida. So a guy like Charlie Strong has probably over $10 million in the bank. Okay. So Lovie Smith, another guy, coached a long time.
Yep.
Lovie Smith's a millionaire.
Yeah.
Right? Kevin Sumlin.
A lot of millions.
Yeah. So guys like that got 15, maybe 10, 15, 20 million in the bank, right?
Yep.
They can afford to do that, right?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm not spending someone else's money.
You're right. You and me both. I mean, this. Let me just say this because I know there are people out there rolling their eyeballs. First of all, this is hypothetical. It's just discussion. It's called sports talk radio. And then secondly, here's the other thing I want to throw in there, Todd. I'm not asking for these guys to come in and take anybody else's job.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is when there's an opening at an HBCU school, if they can, it's kind of like recruiting. You got to at least ask a 5-star if they want to come to FAMU and not assume that they're going to automatically go to Florida or Florida State. You got to at least ask them. So why not at least ask Charlie Strong? Why not at least ask Kevin Sumlin or Lovie Smith? Why not ask Herm Edwards? Heck, nobody thought Herm Edwards would have went to Arizona State, but obviously they made a pitch and he took it because it brings so much more than just the name. It brings so much more and it adds so much value to the school as well as to those players.
So with those guys, like I said, I'm not spending someone else's money, right? But when you've got that much money, you've made that much, at some point, it's hard to spend it all, right? Unless you aggressively spending it. It may be a point in their career, they take a step back, these group of coaches we're talking about, and they say, you know what? I'm tired of Power 5 schools, how they don't give me enough time to turn it around, right? Let me go to one of these other programs, an HBCU school that's more in line of what we're trying to do, building character. I'm going to get the right time frame I need to build this thing up. And then maybe there is a bigger contract on the second one. But at that point, money may not even be, it may not even really matter at that point. Like I said, guys like Lovie Smith, Charlie Strong, Charlie Strong been coaching for 30 years. If they have been decent with their money, you can afford to take a job like that is what I'm saying. And still be, and still be okay. So,
and again, I'm with you. I'm with you. And I just, it's like you've heard me say this many times. If the existing system won't change, then find a way to create your own. If the NCAA is not going to do something about Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma, and somebody else being in the college football play, and they can't because, again, they don't own it. It's run by the Power Fives. It's run by those main programs. So they basically did their own invitational, and they determine who they invite. If that's the way it's going to be, then coaches and schools have got to find a way to build their own process, their own system, and go with it from there.
So does HBCU, do they have any kind of sports network, TV channel, anything like that?
ESPN has started to do more with them, but it hasn't developed a network specifically yet. And there's a couple of other different areas that are carrying more of their games, but there is not a Southwestern Conference or a MAC Conference channel as of yet.
So that would be interesting if the popularity. So that would kind of be, a Charlie Strong, Lovie Smith, guys, maybe Derek Mason that got let go from Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
You get guys like that come in and build that HBCU programs up. Maybe you get a big TV contract. You get your own network, right? Where you can put more money back into these programs. I think that'd be something pretty cool to be a part of, where you could look back one day and say, hey, we were, I wasn't making millions of dollars like I was in Texas, but man, I was part of something, being a pioneer of starting something special that may have not happened,
Bruh, I would be there for it all. I would cover it like it was the national championship game. I promise you. I don't care if it's South Carolina State versus Mississippi Valley State. I will cover it like it was the World Series. Bruh, I'll be all on it. Speaking of Derek Mason, though, he's the defensive coordinator now for Auburn.
Yeah, And so look at a guy like that, right? Good football coach, very hard to recruit at Vanderbilt, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can truly win at Vanderbilt. Sometimes at Vanderbilt, I feel like they're just firing coaches every 3 years, 4 years just to be firing them, right? So, he's a good football coach. So I don't know. I think at some point when you've been at it 20 something years, I think going to a spot where it's always not, this is not enough, this is not good enough. To me, that would grow tiresome at some point, and I'd rather go maybe somewhere else. Kind of what Deion said in his press conference, that kind of aligns more what he's looking for. Because if Deion wanted to get into coaching a long time ago, he could have been done it, at the college level.
Yeah, no, he definitely could have. But I think, again, everything has a timing to it. Everything has a timing to it. And if you're ahead of time, it won't work. If you're late, it might not work. But when you're right on time, then it'll be what it's supposed to be. So, I wish that, and they might be. I don't want to give us more credit than that. I wish these kind of discussions were going on with people who can make it happen. That's what I wish.
Yeah.
And if it is, I more power to them, because I'm there for it all. Because again, I had more important things to do with my time than to watch Alabama all over Ohio State. Been there, done that. Ohio State did it to Alabama the first time around. So what are we, 6 years in, 7 years in, and it hadn't changed?
Yeah. No, I mean, and I don't see it change. That's why I said, to be honest with you, outside of me watching Texas play, man, I don't watch college football like I used to.
Yeah.
Because they've taken, we already kind of know the end, before it's going to happen. So I think that's kind of taken the excitement out of it for some fans.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I will say this, just from an offensive creativity standpoint, I'm curious to see how Sarkisian is going to do at UT. I'm curious to see that. And poor Bama. I hope y'all took a picture of last night's creativity on offense, because the guy coming in after Sarkisian.
Well, AJ, check this out.
What?
How does Bill O'Brien?
I don't know.
How does he get fired from the Texans? And then he goes to Nick Saban's rehab coaching school, right?
Yep.
Where he brings in. So this is another topic. Have you seen all the quality the QA coaches Nick Saban has on his? So at every university in the football department, right? They have these quality analyst coaches, right? So at Alabama, they had Charlie Strong, they had Butch Jones, they have all these former head coaches, and I think the QA role, you're not out there on the field like coaching, right? Mm-hmm. But I think the QA role is you're giving input to the game plan, right? Mm-hmm. So at Nick Saban's place, so at Texas, the quality assurance guys were, guys trying to get position coaching jobs, right? Well, Nick Saban has like the who's who of guys that have been fired that have major head coaching experience, okay? But that's a totally separate conversation. But I don't know how he gets away with that, with having basically all that cheap and experienced minds to help him formulate that plan. But how does Bill O'Brien get fired from the Texans?
Yep.
Then he gets the best offensive kick coordinator job in the country. He'll be there for a year or two, and then he's going to get another head coaching job.
Some on either level, on NFL or college football level. He's got the same agent. I'm kidding. He's got the same agent as Cliff Kingsbury.
I just don't get it. I mean, it makes me wonder if they even do an interview process.
Bruh, no. Here's the interview process. Hey man, you doing all right? Hey, listen. Don't worry about it. Come on, be the offensive coordinator over here. I talked with Bill Belichick. He says you're good for it. So come on, I got you.
Okay, you just filled in the blanks for me. I was just gonna ask you, what is the connection between Bill O'Brien and Nick Saban.
Yeah.
Nick Saban,
yep,
right?
Yep.
There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
and that's why you got a lot of brothers and sisters now that will never get a chance until they get in that loop, and their chances of them getting in that loop is slim and none. Jacoby Brissett is in the NFL, not just because he's skilled and talented enough, but Bill Parcells put a call into his friend Bill Belichick and said, "Hey, you need to take this kid."
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I guarantee you there's coaches already on that staff that wanted that job.
Bro,
right?
That were qualified for it.
Or that it could have been the receiver coach. It could have been the O-line coach that helps with the game plan. But no, he brings somebody in from the outside. So going to Sarkisian, I know we talked about it a little bit on text. Do I think his offensive mind is way more creative than Tom Herman? Absolutely, right? And that was the one drawback with Tom Herman. He wanted to be a physical football team running down your throat, right? Yep. Just line up the ball. We're going to run straight at you. We're not putting anybody in motion. We're not going to do any kind of window dressing before the snap. We're just going to line it up, and we're going to run hard between the tackles, right?
Yep.
The problem is he didn't have the offensive line to do that, right? So I do think Sarkisian will bring some more creativity, to the team. Big picture, do I think it's a significant better hire, much better? Man, I don't know. I think he's bringing a much better coaching staff around him than what Tom Herman did.
Yeah. Well, brother, enjoy. Get ready.
But they're going to have to give him, and I don't know if Texas will ever do this. I think Texas underestimates where they really are as a program.
Yep.
I think Texas is probably closer to, not Nebraska or Tennessee. They're a little bit above that, but they're not far away from that, if that makes sense, right?
Yep.
If you keep firing coaches every 3 or 4 years, other coaches are going to look at us like, you're not giving anybody any time.
Yeah.
And it could be a 4 or 5, 6 year turnaround to get back to a real prominent level.
Yeah.
That the boosters will never give someone the time to do that.
Yeah. Brother, I got to get ready to go, but I appreciate you as always, man.
All right, AJ. I'll listen. Thanks.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, bye.
Todd and Michelle are the front runners for Caller of the Year for 2021. If you want to get in, call me, 281-453-1000, 281-453-1000. Somebody had just called. I'm sorry. I mean, have you on hold that long. Call back, 281-453-1000. It's the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM.
1140 AM, KYOK Conroe, and 92.3 FM, K222CX Houston.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today. House Democrats formally introduced their resolution to impeach Donald Trump that charges him with inciting insurrection, now seeking to remove him from office and prevent him from ever holding office again. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says if the vice president does not respond in 24 hours to the 25th Amendment request, the House will move on with the impeachment resolution. Days before Wednesday's attack on the U.S. Capitol, former Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sund says his request to have the D.C. National Guard on standby for backup was rejected by House and Senate security officials. Sund, who resigned last week, said he asked 5 more times Wednesday afternoon as the protests grew and the attack was underway. Vogue magazine is trying to explain the first release of a February cover photo of Vice President-elect Kamala Harris. Critics have called the casual cover image disrespectful, adding the photo was deliberately washed out to lighten her skin. Please visit SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered. Views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the host, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
All right, y'all, back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM, streaming live on KYOKradio.org. It's Team Texas Tuesday. I'm AJ Jones. Hope you're having a good Tuesday today. Let me go to the phone line. Hello, you're live on the lunch break. Who's this?
AJ, what's going on, bro? It's Longhorn Keith.
Hey, you know what? I was thinking about you when I was talking to Todd. If I had known that was you calling, I would have included you in that call because a lot of what we were talking about, my mind kept going to Longhorn Keys. So what's going on,
man,
bro?
I wish you. Hey, everything's good, man. I wish you would have, because you guys were talking about some really good stuff, and I just wanted to chime in on it, especially when it comes to because Todd hit on something, and you guys were talking about the disparities in coaches' salaries, and more importantly, the great idea that y'all talked about with the names of coaches who could go to HBCUs and make a difference. And while it may not be something that's on the surface, and I ain't heard anything, so I'm not an insider, but I do know this. I do know that, as you guys mentioned, Deion Sanders is changing the landscape of football as it is done in HBCUs, to the point that I do feel at some point HBCUs will have to reach out to more qualified athletes, and then also to coaches who have of that pedigree, right?
Yeah.
That can come in and put a name to the brand. And then the brand becomes so powerful. And this is where I wanted to chime in, especially when you guys were talking about the disparities in salaries. It is really predicated on two things. One, it's the revenue that is driven by ads and TV dollars that I believe that HBCUs can easily control, or at least negotiate those conversations in their favor, and here's how. One, once you start getting star athletes, and it doesn't have to be all the 5 stars and 4 stars, but certainly if you get enough to come to an HBCU and follow behind coaches who have pedigree, or even coaches that are currently coaching right now that will coach up their teams, I assure you that the attention that will be given, ESPN will have no choice but to say, man, we've got to go spend our money here because this is what the people are wanting to see. And I just feel like it's similar to the old Negro League in baseball, in terms of, man, everything that I read and everything that I've seen about the Negro League was so, every player there was so good that it was hard for you to determine, okay, Satchel Paige is the greatest player. No, you've got guys out here that are doing that like it's no problem. Names we've never heard of. So that's the way I see that, man. I see it as, I believe that this can be a turning point. I really feel like we're at a precipice in sports, especially in football. But we're going to start seeing some kids say, you know, I want to take my talents to HBCUs and see how it works out. And at that point, those sacrificial lambs will be kind of the, and I say sacrificial lambs for lack of a better word, but they will be the people who lay the groundwork for HBCUs and more importantly for black head coaches to start receiving the notoriety and the money that goes along with that.
Yeah, no, I got exactly what you meant, because at some point people decide the money is not the most important thing. Building this foundation for a brighter future and for a brighter tomorrow. And I know it sounds kind of hokey, but it's realistic. And
yes, sir.
And the HBCU ranks and in the college, because watch this, it doesn't just affect the football program, man, it affects the entire campus. There are folks that wanted to go to Alcorn when Steve McNair was there, that wanted to go to Mississippi Valley State when Jerry Rice was there, wanted to go to some of these other schools. They wanted to walk on the campus where Eddie Robinson, you know, had Grambling in and out and in and out and in and out, you know, of the national discussion. So it affects everything, and that's what those schools, those conferences deserve, especially when you see other, you know, divisions having a stranglehold on all of the money and all of the opportunities. If they don't want to share, no problem. We'll just build our own.
Exactly. And AJ, it's kind of what you mentioned earlier, and it's this, right? So if you don't think that those dollars and that revenue really matter, look how desperate the Power Five were to have football this year. We talked about it at the beginning of the season, because they realized not, and it wasn't just them. Let's not get this twisted. It was also the sponsors. The sponsors needed to have this to happen. Some people were even forcing kids to get onto the field, and even more so, you were trying to get a 25% or even close to 50% occupancy. And I call him an idiot at Florida. This guy was trying to push 50 to 75% occupancy in a 100,000 seat stadium because they wanted the revenue. So just think about this in that perspective. Think about 50% of that revenue that are going to those schools, what that would do to HBCUs currently.
Right.
Right. And then multiply that when you get a TV deal, and watch how, if you thought that the Tulsa massacre was a thing, you can only imagine.
Bruh. You just said something, Key.
You know, and but they're afraid for us to know that. They are truly afraid for our kids and our programs to realize the value and the power we possess. And not just in our athleticism, but the knowledge that we bring to the table. They don't have that, so they try to cover it up and say that we're paying for it through a flimsy scholarship. No, listen, I'm not undermining a free tuition or a free scholarship. But let's be real about this. How much more realistically is the value of that scholarship if it is then placed in a place where the dollars are returned back to its community? We won't get that until we start having, again, those folks who say, man, listen, I'm doing this because, one, I can go to a program and still display my skills. And let's talk about guys not being able to get drafted from an HBC. I don't know why that's even a conversation anymore. Because trust me, the NFL finds players if you're a player.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
They'll find you. They'll find you, man. So that was a great conversation, man. I'm glad you guys talked about that. If I can, I want to talk a little bit about Steve Sarkisian.
Yeah, please.
So last night I had a chance to, obviously, I watched the game, and I know you and Todd were talking about, it's kind of getting kind of boring seeing the same schools there. And I agree. But my mantra has always been, too, is if you don't like it, beat them. And that's including in recruiting. And it's hard to beat Alabama. There's no doubt about that. But I will tell you, I watched last night for the sole purposes of watching Steve Sarkisian call plays. And I was really, really impressed. I was really impressed with the play calls that he made. So much so, I got a little too excited. Because here's the thing. While I'm excited about him as a play caller, it still doesn't give me a lot of confidence in him as a head coach.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does.
Because you can be a great play caller when you're just the coordinator. But at Texas, you've got to juggle several different areas, and one of them is boosters. The other one is maintaining, good relationship with Texas high school football coaches, as well as recruiting. And I'm anxious to see what he can do. He's got press conferences there at 4, so we'll see. And then more importantly, we'll just see how he rolls out coming out, this off season and into the season. But it'll be very interesting to see.
Yeah, and Keith, I agree with what you just said 100%. I got to get ready to take a break. Can you hold on, or do you want to just listen?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, stay right there, Keith, because I want to respond to that. We'll be right back. This segment brought to you by the Tax Doctor and Lily. If you got tax problems with the IRS, listen up. Right here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they are able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359. Here's an important COVID-19 school system update for your local area. If you're concerned about your child's education, please pay close attention to this message. The current school systems were not set up for at-home learning. If you're worried that your child may not be getting the grades they need to get ahead, may be losing self-confidence, or you're worried about them getting into a good college because of their grades, help is available to you. Call Grade Potential Tutoring. They can help with in-home or online tutoring and help your child with any subject at every grade level, even for test prep. They're experts in the home tutoring and online tutoring field and confident they can help you and your child get better grades today. Call now for your free consultation. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. 800-580-7680. That's 800-580-7680.
KYOK, 1140 AM and 92.3 FM. The legend continues.
You're listening to The Lunch Break with AJ on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM.
All right, y'all, back here on the lunch break. Team Texas Tuesday on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM, streaming live on KYOKradio.org. Let me get back to the phone line. Longhorn Keith standing by. Appreciate you hanging with me for a minute. Let's go back in history. Tom Herman literally got all of these jobs over 3 games. Those last 3 games that he was able to get Ohio State to the national championship. After Braxton Miller went down, and I always forget that other quarterback went down, and when he was able to help win it with Cardell Jones. Mm-hmm. And he got the University of Houston job, did well there, beat Florida State, and then he got the what? UT job.
Yep.
And throughout those opportunities, the question was, did he learn how to manage boosters? Did he learn how to deal with recruits? Did he learn how to manage the entire organization? Well, we found out when he got to Texas, he didn't. When he got to Texas, he was still trying to be the friend and be the player's best friend and all that. And there was other stuff that he needed to take care of that he didn't take care of. And everybody thinks it was just because of wins and losses, but typically after somebody gets fired, the truth starts coming out. And he wasn't beloved in that athletic department. He wasn't beloved with his dealings with other parts of the athletic department. And oh yeah, by the way, his name wasn't Nick Saban. His name wasn't Jimbo Fisher. So he didn't have those kind of graces because he wasn't bringing that kind of resume. So when they saw an opportunity to get rid of him and bring in one of Saban's guys, guess what they decided to do? First time UT has hired an assistant coach in how long?
33, 30. It's been a minute. No, I'm sorry. I lied. I was thinking about what head coach this is for us. It's been a minute since.
Yeah, long time. Long time.
Yeah.
And that says something because of all those things. You got to be able to handle everything. Red McComb, you got to be able to handle, all the other boosters that we don't even know their names. And you got to be able to handle the recruits and the compliance department and the this department and the that department and the X's and O's on the field.
You and Todd were mentioning something, and Todd asked a question, and it really, and he was genuinely asking the question. He goes, it was in regards to when you mentioned how did Bill O'Brien get the job at Alabama, or possibly get the job as the offense coordinator at Alabama. And I think he asked the question about, so they didn't even think about interviewing anyone else, the Rooney Rule, right? So that the NFL uses. And so what's interesting about that is this is another reason why I'm a huge proponent of HBCUs developing and taking care and making sure that Black coaches get at least the opportunity to interview, sit down, and develop their skills. So if you're ever given the opportunity to interview at the pro level or even at the college level, you will get a chance. You will be prepared for it. One of the things that's so disheartening to me right now is, like you mentioned earlier, the only agent that most white assistants who become head coaches in college, their only agent is someone who looks like that. All you got to do is be somebody white and young and fit the part of a head coach. Give me a prime example. The Philadelphia Eagles are now looking to talk to Lincoln Riley, Oklahoma.
Yep.
And don't get me wrong. Lincoln Riley is a great mind in college, and he could be one in NFL. But my point is, how many times does a guy like Eric Bieniemy has to be like pushed to the side before somebody says, "Listen, let me at least give the guy an interview"? And I heard somebody mention earlier in another sports talk show that said he was a guy who doesn't interview well.
Bruh.
What?
Bruh. Let me Longhorn Keith. Let me say this. Don't get in this backlash. Aaron Wilson from the Houston Chronicle should be ashamed of himself. He should literally be ashamed of himself for that article that he put out about that man, one, and that black man, number two. And I'm not going to let it slide. He got on Sports Talk 790 and got on 610 and literally defamed this man's name. He literally got on and lied on this man, saying that he hadn't interviewed well and that even the Atlanta Falcons were not interested in him because he did not interview well. And he said all that nonsense as if it was fact. And it took very little work by Bucky Brooks to actually fact check his nonsense, and all of it was confirmed to be a lie. The Atlanta Falcons were outraged. And that's why you cannot have one culture being the primary voice in any sport, because they'll put nonsense out like that. And you know what? People look at our country today. People take falsehoods as gospel.
Yes, sir.
If it sounds like something I want to believe, you know what? Aaron Wilson said it.
Yep.
Dude should be ashamed of himself, bro.
He should, man. And that's why I thank God for your platform. I thank God for this show. I really mean that, man. I thank you for being honest, for being truthful, and more importantly, for having a platform, man, that allows people to come in and express themselves. But then you're not trying to twist the narrative, right? You are allowing people to express whatever they feel about their sports team or sports in general. But also your takes are not twisted to the point where you've got to make somebody feel a certain way about a particular genre of sports. And that's what I love about what you do, man. And probably more up and above all of that, man, is just the way that you care for people and these young people that you have on and how you develop people, man. Let me tell you, bro, I tell you this before and I say it again. You're the best at it, man, and I appreciate everything that you do. And I know God has tremendous blessings headed your way, man. So I thank God for your friendship, and I thank God for the show.
Brother, I sure appreciate you. And again, thank you for that. Look, one day real soon, that next cup of coffee is on me.
Sounds good, man. All right, brother. Well, listen, have a good day, brother.
All right, bro. You too.
Right.
Longhorn Keith, always a good call when he joins. The program always goes to a higher level, and we appreciate him. But yeah, man, I've been kind of sitting on that Aaron Wilson thing. In fact, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, I'll take a break. And when I come back, I'll read the article and the interview stuff that he said on those local stations, and then give you Bucky Brooks fact-checking him and finding out that none of it was true. But he definitely defamed that man's name, and that man I'm talking about is none other than Eric Bieniemy. And it's all tied to why the Texans didn't do their work in at least bringing the young man in for an interview. We'll be right back right after this on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Keisha Kelly, I see you. What's going on, Double K?
The legendary KYOK 1140 AM. The legendary KYOK 92.3 FM. Two radio stations in one.
The old way of living with diabetes is a pain. You've got to remember to do your testing, and you always need to be sticking your fingers. The new way to live your life with diabetes is with a continuous glucose monitor. You simply apply a discreet, easy-to-use sensor on your body, and it continuously monitors your glucose levels, helping you spend more time in range and freeing you from painful finger pricks. If you test your blood sugar at least 4 times per day and inject insulin at least 3 times per day, or use an insulin pump and have private insurance or Medicare, you might be eligible for a CGM with little or no cost to you. Call U.S. Medical Supply today for a free benefits check. We offer free shipping, 90-day supplies, and we bill Medicare or your insurance directly. Call now and say goodbye to finger pricks.
800-633-1378. 800-633-1378. 800-633-1378. That's 800-633-1378.
Let's be honest, wheelchairs are heavy, bulky, and ugly. If you carry a wheelchair in your car to take care of a loved one, you know how hard it is getting that clunky, old-style wheelchair in and out of your car. Introducing the Feather Chair Wheelchair. At 13 pounds, it's the world's lightest wheelchair. It folds in seconds and fits neatly in your trunk, backseat, or closet, so you can take it everywhere. And it's only available right here. Order yours today and get a free wheelchair case, a $50 value, yours free. The Feather Chair, the world's lightest wheelchair, is just $4.99 with easy payments as low as $16 a month. Sorry, no Medicare or insurance accepted. So call right now to order yours.
800-262-4690. 800-262-4690. 800-262-4690. That's 800-262-4690.
Hi, I'm Larry Scott, host of the Not So Christian and Me Show. Join me Saturdays for great fun, interviews, music, and the latest news surrounding our world today. We are the show that cares to hear your voice and opinion with real conversation in a no judgment zone. So join me Saturdays from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Not So Christian and Me Show, right here on the legendary KYOK Radio, 1140 AM, and the all-new 92.3 FM at KYOKradio.org.
Now, the lunch break with AJ on the legendary KYOK 1140 AM and 92.3 FM.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. Funny. Longhorn Keith, I hope you're still listening. So I pulled up this dude's Twitter account, Aaron Wilson, the guy who should be ashamed of himself for defaming the name of Eric Bieniemy. And 10 minutes ago, he just tweeted out that the Texans have requested an interview with Eric Bieniemy. Still don't have any respect for the dude, and I'm not trying to give him any positive shine on my show, but interesting. Something when you're the franchise quarterback and you're not returning anybody's phone calls, including those of the owner. Because I don't know, I'm not listening. I'm not that deep into it. I can't tell when somebody rejects my call and it goes directly to voicemail. I just assume that it went directly to voicemail. But some folks get mad at me because you rejected my call. How do you know? I knew when it was ringing and then all of a sudden it went straight to voicemail. Listen, Cal McNair knows that his call is being rejected and that it's going to voicemail when he tries to call Deshaun Watson. Nick Caserio knows that you might be the hot new young thing here in Houston. I'm never going to get media credentials again. New hot young thing here in Houston, but that man ain't taking your call. He ain't happy to talk to you. He's not going to pick up the phone and, hey, yo, bro, I was looking for your call. That ain't going to happen. And now all of a sudden it clicked. The light bulb came on. Maybe we ought to interview the head coach that he recommended. Didn't say you had to hire him. He just recommended that you interview him, and you couldn't do that. And you expect this young man to be happy to talk to you? You traded away his best friend. You traded away, the defensive help that he had. You even traded away the offensive help that he had at left tackle. And before you even got Laramie Tunsil, when you traded away Dwayne Brown, all you had to do was restructure the man's contract and give him some guaranteed money, and you wouldn't even do that. The young man has been running for his life since he's been here. Blew out a knee, had a punctured lung, cracked ribs. God knows if he's been concussed or not. And you want him to just be like, hey, yeah, no problem. Sure. I'm good. I'll take whatever y'all send my way. The young man tweeted out, when they painted you a picture, don't let them paint you another one. Let me tell you what this Aaron Wilson of the Houston Chronicle said in an interview. And I quote, I'm going to be honest, very transparent. Eric is not interviewing very well with other teams, and the Texans haven't been interested in Eric throughout the process. I continue to quote, the information that they have is that he's just not the guy that they want. They're not interested, and I know that sounds really strange with people, but Chiefs quarterback coach Mike Kafka has more to do with some of the stuff with Patrick Mahomes than Eric Bieniemy. And the thing is, well, how can everybody write all this good stuff about him? The fact of the matter is that's the agenda. Oh, man, I'm serious. Father, forgive me, for I know not what I do. Father, forgive me, because my thoughts right now are not like you. Did he just say that's the narrative? That's what's being pushed because people want him to get a job. But Bill O'Brien's godfather, Bill Belichick, can call his friend Nick Saban and say, give one of the worst offensive minds in the game a job at the best college program in the world. Let me keep reading. Andy Reid wants to get him a job, but he hasn't interviewed well, and it's just a lack of stuff with the offense. And Eric Bieniemy, he can do better in selling himself more, and I don't think it has anything to do with race or anything like that. I just think it's these teams, they don't want him. He went on to say, the Texans aren't alone in their takeaway of Bieniemy. Atlanta Falcons would love to hire a black coach, but Bieniemy just didn't interview well. And I said Bucky Brooks, but it wasn't Bucky. It was Jim Trotter of the NFL Network. And Jim Trotter said, and I quote, I can see that despicable and shameful game of tearing down coaches of color via anonymous sources has begun. No need to give the perpetrator oxygen here. I'll call his name here, Aaron Wilson. Rather, let me offer what two people who've worked with Eric Bieniemy have told me about him on Huddle and Flow. The two people, Pat Mahomes, the actual quarterback, and Michael Vick, who is getting himself reconnected with the league via Fox Sports. All of them are saying just the opposite of what Aaron Wilson and his unnamed sources are saying. He says the thing that is so appalling here is that there appears to have been no attempt to get a comment from the Falcons. Jim Trotter. I spoke this morning to a Falcons official involved in the interview process who said of the story, nothing could be further from the truth. But this Aaron Wilson walks around unscathed, getting radio time on the largest radio networks in the city, talking about a man who's done nothing but be great. Oh, well, it's not him. It's the other guy. It's not him. It's the quarterback's coach. It's not him. It's Andy Reid. And the only reason why they're saying it is that's the agenda that they're trying to push. They want to get him a job. Who pushed the agenda for Cliff Kingsbury? Who pushed the agenda for Adam Gase to stink it up in Miami and then stink it up even worse in New York? Where's that article? If y'all aren't seeing this stuff for what it really is, I'm getting ready to go here, so let me get there, and then I can get off of it and get back to sports. It's just like the whole thing that we're seeing play out in the nation right now. There are people that literally want you to believe that the shameful riots, sedition, terroristic attack on our nation's capital and murder of Capitol police officer or a Capitol police officer was not at the hands of the people that did it, but was because of Black Lives Matter and some group called Antifa that infiltrated the peaceful protesters. Well, here's what doesn't make sense. Why would Black Lives Matter and Antifa and other groups try to overthrow an election that had the desired outcome that they wanted? What was in that for them? Why would somebody, watch this, why would somebody dress up like somebody else and pretend to be them to get what they did not want? It makes no sense. Just own your own truth. What Longhorn Keith said about me, here's my thing. Here's what I come out and I try to do every day from 12 to 2, Monday through Friday. Just tell the truth. That's all I try to do. Whether it be about my favorite team, whether it be about your favorite team, whether it be about my favorite player, whether it be about your favorite player, whether it be about my favorite coach, whether it be about your favorite coach. I just try to tell the truth. I try to tell the narrative that other stations refuse to even touch. And I just try to tell the truth. So I'm going to dress up like somebody else to force a result that I didn't want and put my life on the line by breaking into the Capitol building where they have Secret Service, where they have Capitol Police, where they have guards and all. I mean, nobody knew what they had in there before they broke those windows and climbed in there. So I'm going to risk my life trying to pretend to be somebody that I'm not to try to get something that I already had. Just own your truth. Aaron Wilson just needs to own his truth. If you don't like Eric Bieniemy, don't like him, but don't lie on him. And either you lied, Aaron Wilson. I sure hope the person who I think is listening will go tell Aaron Wilson I called him by name on the lunch break. And hold on, where's my disclaimer? Hold on.
Views and opinions expressed on all radio shows broadcast on KYOK are entirely those of the hosts, guests, and callers who are entirely responsible for all show content and do not in any way reflect the opinions of KYOK Radio, its sponsors, staff, or management.
Just own your truth. Go run tell that. Aaron, if you don't like him, don't lie on him. If you don't like him as a selection, don't lie on him. Just say, I prefer they get whoever you want them to have. The selection committee, the search committee, told them to hire Louis Riddick or Omar Khan. They went with Nick Caserio. Don't tear Louis Riddick and Omar Khan down because they went with who they wanted to go. They had no obligation to go with who the search committee wanted them to go with. And if the search committee told them to go with Eric Bieniemy and they chose to go in another direction, then guess what? Don't tear Eric Bieniemy down because you want to justify you doing something different. That's the stuff that's going to stop. And if I just got to come across as the angry black man calling out all this nonsense, then that's just what I'll have to be. Because right now, I can't trust that the Aaron Wilsons, the 6'10s, the 790s, and the 97.5s are going to simply do that one thing: tell the truth. Good God, can we have some truth somewhere in the world today? And not your truth, not my truth, just the truth. We can't tell it in politics. We can't tell the truth about race. We can't tell the truth about systematic racism. We can't tell the truth about police brutality. We can't tell the truth about infiltration of white supremacists and white ring groups in the military and the police force. For Christ's sake, a Secret Service officer has been suspended and is under investigation for being not a Secret Service officer, but for being pro-political, pro-right-wing, far right-wing. So the person whose job it would have been to guard Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or their children or their family literally could have been an insider for somebody who wanted to hurt them. Just tell the truth. Everybody wants there to be a deep state against their favorite person. What if that person is part of the deep state? What if your person is the deep state? Good God. All right, let me take a break. Aaron Wilson, be best. Talk to y'all right after the other side of this.
Hi, my name is Lily. My mom and dad used to fight about money all the time. Then one day, I heard them talking about this guy, some uncle I never knew, called Uncle Sam. Well, they say this Uncle Sam guy wanted them to pay him like $1 gazillion, and they didn't have $1 gazillion. So they called this company they heard on the radio called the Tax Doctor. And the Tax Doctor worked with Uncle Sam's people. I think they're called the IRS. And they're able to work it out so my mom and dad didn't have to pay Uncle Sam very much money at all. So now mom and dad are happy, and I'm happy too. Thanks, Tax Doctor.
If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS or state, call now and pay less. 800-603-9359. 800-603-9359. That's 800-603-9359.
As the coronavirus is ravaging our community, make sure you have health insurance. Let Care Team Insurance assist you with our free medical enrollment assistance program. Call now and see what you qualify for at 281-990-1010. 1377. There are over 13 million people without insurance that should qualify for plans starting at $0 to only $50 per month. Care Team has helped thousands of people just like you by providing free enrollment assistance. Don't be taken advantage of by people selling bad or fake insurance. Make sure you have health insurance. Let Care Team Insurance assist you. This is AJ Jones. And KYOK listeners, I want you to call now and see what you qualify for. Plans starting at $0 to only $50 per month at 281-990-1377. That's 281-990-1377. Or visit careteamcares.com.
You're listening to
1140 AM and 92.3 FM, the legendary KYOK.
All right, y'all, we're back here on the lunch break on the legendary KYOK and the all-new 92.3 FM. I'm AJ Jones. It is our Team Texas Tuesday. The Dallas Cowboys have hired a defensive coordinator, and it's none other than Dan Quinn, who was formerly the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons. There's some people that feel kind of like, ain't that the dude that was coaching them when they blew that 28-3 lead against the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl? Yeah, that's him. That's him. But he was the head coach. He was a head coach. He wasn't running the defense at that time. And, even if he was, every good defensive coordinator has a bad outing. Every good defensive coordinator has a bad outing. I will say this, he's better than what they had. Nolan was just, the Texas pro football teams, the Texans and the Cowboys both needed an upgrade at defensive coordinator. I know a lot of folks love Anthony Lynn like breathing, and I'm not saying that he's a bad guy. My comments are not about him personally. As a defensive coordinator, in his first season, full-time as the DC, didn't get the job done. Didn't get it done. And the numbers bore that out, both in wins, losses, and statistics. Very few bright spots on that defense. Even made guys like Justin Reed and others look less than what we know that they can be. And you can talk about the talent, and this is what I want to say to Longhorn Keith and to Todd earlier as we were talking. There are some coaches that literally can just take what you give them, and they're that skilled at coaching that they can make it work. I mean, they can literally make it work. I'll never forget. Back at another radio station that I worked for in Cincinnati, Ohio, there was a period of time where I was the interim program director. And we had a celebrity basketball team. And it was more than just a fun celebrity basketball team. It was competitive. I mean, we literally played games around the season that were the city that were like a schedule. And not only did I have radio personalities and television personalities, I had former college athletes and a couple of former professional athletes in different sports. So we had some players. And we literally got up against a team in Middletown, Ohio, coached by Butch Gibson, the brother, Butch Carter. Butch Carter, the brother of Chris Carter. And Chris had put this basketball team together in Middletown that had not lost a game in like 11 years. And they played in rec leagues and they played in tournaments and they traveled the country winning money and had not lost a game in 11 years. And I wanted to play them. And we finally got a chance to play them in a celebrity game. And guess what? we had all the well-known people on our team. We had former pro athletes. We had former college Division I basketball players. And they beat us. They had no-name dudes. They had dudes that had tape on their glasses. I'm talking about black rim glasses with the white medical tape on it. They had one dude that had a knee brace that went from his hip all the way down to the top of his shoelaces. And that dude lit us up. And the thing that they were was well coached. They ran sets, they ran plays, they ran stuff that was just better coached than us. And that's what they did for 11 years. And they had chemistry, and they had, they could think what the other guy was going to do before that person did it. I had the names and probably had more of the talent. But guess what they had? They had the coaching. They had the skill. They had the system. And it all worked. What are you talking about, Adrian? There are some coaches, man, that you just give them their players and let them get to know their players and let them put them in the right place, the right position, and in the right system. And put the system around the players instead of trying to make the players fit the system. And that's why I'm not big fans of the Kyle Shanahans and the Mike Shanahans and coaches like that, because it's their system and Bill O'Brien, you got to fit their system. Those to me are not guys who can coach. Those are guys that are coaches. There's a difference. Anybody can play point guard, but not everybody is a point guard. And there's some good coaches out there that can coach, that won't get a chance to be Alabama's offensive coordinator or UT's head coach or Auburn's head coach or Michigan's head coach or North Carolina's head coach. They won't get those shots. And I just got news for you. This good old boy system, it's from high school all the way up. When I look at the really, really, really dominant programs, how many of them have or have had a minority head coach? I'm not just talking about black. I'm talking about Hispanic, Asian. No, it's the good old boys. Because guess what? The athletic directors at the school look like them. And I'm going to say this, and you ain't got to like it. Shame on the other athletic directors that don't look like them, that feel like they got to get them to have the better program. One day, I hope we get to a point where you just get the person who can coach. One day, I hope we get into a true meritocracy where it's based on what you do and can do and not who you know. Quick sports update, and I'm getting out of here. Aaron Wilson done made me mad. Alabama Crimson Tide won the college football playoffs national championship by rolling Ohio State 52-24. Published reports say that former Texans head coach and general manager Bill O'Brien will become the Crimson Tide new offensive coordinator, as Steve Sarkisian is leaving to take over the head coach job at UT. NBA action, Dallas and New Orleans got postponed last night due to COVID. Tonight you got the Lakers at Houston for round 2. They played each other a couple of nights ago. Same two teams tonight at 7 o'clock. Spurs at Oklahoma City tonight, also at 7. And then college basketball, Prairie View beat TSU last night, 71-67 on the men's side. NFL playoffs is coming Saturday. You got Green Bay hosting the Rams. That'll kick off at 3:35 Central on Fox, followed by the Bills hosting Baltimore at 7:15 on NBC. And then Sunday, you got Cleveland at Kansas City. That kicks off at 2:05 Central on CBS, followed by the Saints hosting Tampa Bay, 5:40 on Fox. The PGA pulled one of their major tournaments from Trump's golf course in New Jersey, and Bill Belichick did turn down receiving the Medal of Honor from President Trump, saying that in light of everything that's gone on, he can't do it. Good for him. No shade on the president, it's just not the right time. Just not the right time. I did want to point out, though, real quick in the NFL, man, look at the quarterbacks in the AFC. Look at the quarterbacks in the AFC that are still playing. You've got young Josh Allen versus young Lamar Jackson, and you've got Baker Mayfield versus Pat Mahomes. I mean, there has definitely been a changing of the guard in the AFC. But here's what's crazy. Look who made it on the NFC side. You got Aaron Rodgers versus Jared Goff. Goff is the outliner. And then you got Tom Brady versus Drew Brees. And that, I mean, literally, you got new school and you've got the blue bloods of the old school. You got the new school versus the blue bloods of the old school. You got 3 Hall of Famers versus a bunch of future possible potential Hall of Famers. I thought that was quite interesting. The young guns are there, man. I think the only one that I would trade out if possible would be Deshaun Watson for Jared Goff. And I'm not trying to send Deshaun to LA to play for the Rams, unless he's going to do it in my Nelly voice. But I thought that was pretty interesting. You got the best of the young guns in the divisional round of the playoffs versus the best of the old guns, if you will. Man, what really would have been crazy, if they had won, you would have had Aaron Rodgers versus Russell Wilson, and then Josh Allen versus Lamar Jackson, Baker Mayfield versus Pat Mahomes, and Drew Brees versus Tom Brady. That would have been the who's who, man. That would have been the who's who. So anyway, let me get ready to go. I know y'all tired of hearing me soapbox about life and pontificating about the way this thing is actually set up versus the way folks want us to believe it actually is. You know, the whole, it has nothing to do with race, AJ. It's all about what they can do. Stop being a victim of your race. First of all, I'm not a victim. Second of all, you don't get to tell me what's important to me. If it doesn't bother you, just admit that. That's not my concern. Just say that. It's not your concern. And stop using this phrase right here, and I'm going to go for real. Race card. Stop that. Race is not a game. Nobody has ever been killed because they can play gin rummy real well. Nobody has ever been killed because they can play go fish real well. Pinochle. Nobody's ever been killed for that. Race is not a card. Please stop that. It's ignorant and it's insensitive. Stop it. Donnie McClurkin up next with the Donnie McClurkin Show. He'll give you the best in gospel music, latest in the gospel music industry. Donnie does this thing every Monday through Friday from 2 to 3. Erica Campbell and Griff in the mornings, get up mornings. After that, your boy will be back with Winning Wednesday. Sybil Wilkes about to give us her COVID-19 update before we go. Y'all be blessed. As always, let's not be divided. Let's be united. I love you. I truly do. And there's nothing you can do about it. But please wear your mask. Wash your hands 30 seconds or more. And social distance. I mean, get off people's back. Give them 6 feet. And when you see that racism or nonsense, kill it. Not the person, but the racism and nonsense. Y'all be blessed. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
It's Sybil Wilkes with what you need to know today. While Democratic leaders such as Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi have pointed to the 25th Amendment as the most effective manner to remove Donald Trump from office, Vice President Pence has indicated his reluctance to invoke the amendment. The House will then move on a vote to impeach, and that could come as early as Wednesday. It's highly unlikely the Senate will vote on the impeachment of Donald Trump before January 20th, Inauguration Day, but it could prevent him from becoming president again if he tries to run in 2024. Health officials are working to speed up vaccinations nationwide as the country has recorded more than 100,000 COVID-19 hospitalizations for 40 days in a row. An initial goal of vaccinating 20 million people by the beginning of this year has been slowed by delays and a lack of coordination at the federal level. So far, nearly 6.7 million people have been vaccinated against the coronavirus. Please visit SybilWilkes.com to subscribe to my free daily newsletter. Be informed, be empowered.
You got to let him have you.
All right, y'all. I sincerely hope y'all enjoyed the show. I want to appreciate all the callers for today. Definitely, the value that was added. Todd, great call. Longhorn Keith, great call. All of y'all, your comments, all of that, great call. But man, be careful where you get your sources of information from. Be careful for who you listen to, especially when they're talking about other people. Eric Bieniemy is somebody who works extremely hard at his job. Eric Bieniemy is in a position that most folks don't get to get in, period, let alone folks that look like him or me. So I am always going to root for a young man, young woman in those kind of positions. I am. I'm also going to root for those who are trying to work their way up. Folks always say, you got to work your way up. Well, you don't need people like Aaron Wilson tearing them down without facts, period. So anyway, that's my just. That's all I got. Y'all take care. Lord say the same. I'll talk to you tomorrow.